support.
The maestro, please!
We're in the last month of the year. Let's see what December can give us before we end 2024. This will be for the week of
December 7th. 2024.
On this day in music, back in 1968, Beggar's Banquet, Rolling Stones' seventh studio album, and their departure from their psychedelic pop phase would be released. This would be a return to form, more of going to that blues rock that they've become more increasingly associated with. Despite it getting to the top of the charts, but not quite at number one pretty much anywhere, it would later be included in many greatest albums of all time, and even inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999. Not quite all Christmas albums yet, but I'm just waiting for it to happen.
Don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing.
Loewe's Bewitched holding it down. It's the only non-Christmas album in the top 5. We'll see how long that lasts.
Singing.
I love rock and roll! Assassination!
They've gotten a lot of high charting positions with this album release, and considering that it's called Chapter 1, I can only assume that we're going to get a Chapter 2.
Oh, the misery! Everybody wants to be my enemy!
Apparently, we should all watch this series at some point. It's been reviewed very well, even getting a lot of people who are not typically gamers to actually play the game League of Legends.
It's bigger than hip-hop.
Tell him Kendrick did it. Hey, who showed you how to run a blitz? Tell him Kendrick did it. Who put the West back in front of shit? Tell him Kendrick did it. Hey, I'm tripping.
I mean, come on, we've been waiting on this ever since the very beginning of that Drake-Kendrick feud that we had earlier this year. While I am disappointed Not Like Us is not on the album, Squabble Up is, and you'll recognize it because at the very beginning of the music video for Not Like Us, he actually does do a snippet of Squabble Up. I mean, every year as we get to December, I always like to say, boy, I hope we get some more dance and electronic albums before the year ends.
And now I need some help from the maestro, please!
I could eat that girl for lunch as she dances on my tongue. Tastes like she might be the one.
Well, it is nominated for both Best Pop Vocal Album and Album of the Year.
Blow shit up at home back in CHROMAKOPIA. I don't like the way that this is looking. Mirror.
I mean, it managed to get to number 16 on the most streamed albums in a single day of all time. So if that doesn't get you to listen to it, I mean, come on.
Please, 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 don't prove I'm right.
Along with Chappelle Roan, with the release of this album, Sabrina Carpenter has become one of only 15 artists ever to be nominated in all 4 general field categories: Best New Artist, Record of the Year, Song of the Year, and Album of the Year.
Tell them how I am defying gravity.
I mean, come on, it's Wicked. People love Wicked, and people love Ariana Grande. Although not everyone loves Ariana Grande singing Wicked, that's a bit more divisive. But this is only part 1, I would like to remind you. There's a whole second part of this film, and there'll be a whole second part of the soundtrack that we will also inevitably end up talking about.
Tell him Kendrick did it. Hey, who showed you how to run a blitz? Tell him Kendrick did it. Who put the West back in front of shit? Tell him Kendrick did it. Hey, I'm tripping.
I will say this about this album. For my extended record rundown listenings, where I specifically focus on select songs, I usually pick only about 5, less if there are not like 5 tracks on the album and it's an EP, but it's again, only 5. This was the first time that during that session, I listened to an additional song from the album, because of course, I had to hear TV Off because of the mustard line. So a strong week, not necessarily in terms of album releases, but in the significance of said releases, because I know for a fact 2 of the new albums we talked about this week, you know we're going to be talking about them next week as well.
And now I need some help from the maestro, please! Maestro!